I really like to invite you to sense the magic of creativity, because to really want to bring that to children is like we have to have a sense of what it can do for us. In children, we have seen a lot of changes happen as they do creativity in the pure way, and when they really express themselves, we've seen that they work better at school, they go better with their sibling. I mean, they integrate their life challenges. You know, it's really such a powerful thing, and they develop the joy of creating. And when a child develops the joy of creating as they are young, as they grow up, it does not leave them. It keeps manifesting. It doesn't matter what they do. It just keeps going. So I really like to bring, I think you probably have it if you already came here, but this sense of the magic of creativity, how powerful it is. And there are many things we can say with words, but there is many things we cannot even say with words that in the way it affects a being. So I'm going to show you a lot of slides, quite a few slides of children in their own process, because we are going to talk about creative process, right? It's not just about, learning how to do a technique or art. It's like the creative process in life. So I'm going to show you a slide of children going through the process and what happens to them. This little girl that painted, she was around 6.5, something like that. In that painting, you can see there is a rainbow. And at the very end of the painting, she puts a little bit of gray in the middle. And then the next week, she came back, and a little flower grows there. And then the following week, and go to the next one. And the next one, she put herself on top of the tree. And I don't want to get into interpretation or say, describe the painting. I just wanted to show this theory as to show the magic of what really happens. There is something that moves inside that takes over and that makes the child express in a very deep way. So, and this document really shows really well what happens. And this kind of process happens anytime a child paints. Sometimes you can see it very clearly, and sometimes you can't. So that's part of the magic and the mystery of how creativity affects us. So this is like the studio. You see we put the color like that for the children. They have brushes, and they go back and forth to the wall where we pin some white piece of paper and they paint like that. It creates like a sort of a vortex, like a pulse, like children come in and out, on the wall to the table, everybody to the center. And there is a great creative energy, magnetism in the room. Like you can feel the creative energy. You can cut it with a knife. It's so real. When children come to a painting class, generally this is what you see when they first arrive. This is like what they learn in kindergarten very often. They are told how to do a few art, a few design, a rectangular, a round, and this is, you see a lot of that. Why? Why, if you wonder, they come to a class and we tell them they can do anything they want, and they repeat what they have been taught. You see? They repeat what they have been taught because they don't know what else to do. So the children have not been put in a context where they create, where they know they can invent, they know they can do something. So they're going to use what they have stored from before and repeat that. And they will keep doing that and be very bored. Decorative, like, oh, do you like it? And everybody says, sure, I like it. And that's very unfortunate, and this is what we see happen. Or this kind of thing. The children, they are a little older here. They are told and taught how to paint something beautiful. They are told the plant is beautiful. So these poor little kids that have this intense life, entering the mystery of life, having all these experiences all day long, they only paint a little plant. Do you see that? Well, their whole being is like craving and thirsty and hungry for something else. The other thing is that when children don't really paint from their own self, they work. The painting does not become like an adventure, like the excitement of creativity, it becomes work. They do what they think they're supposed to do. So adults will be okay with it. So we really have to see that. And let's see what else do we get in painting class. We get children reproducing stereotypes, comics, Superman, all the heroes. And they work at reproducing that, but you can see that it's just like, what for? There is no feeling there. There is really not much happening. So this is the thing we think. They repeat what they have been taught as design. They repeat what they have been told is beautiful, like a plant, the ball of fruit, and they do comics. I mean, you see this child full of life. They come because they want to create, and that's what they do. So we are going to learn and discover how we can undo that. How we can have the children unlearn all these patterns they have already absorbed from the adults. So this is a ball of fruit. I had to put it on because this is like so, this is so common and so traditional. You got to paint this ball. All of us, didn't you ever paint a ball of fruit? I painted ball of fruits. Okay, so this is a ball of fruit, and this little girl came to my class. She was almost 10, and she worked really, really hard for an hour and a half to do that thing. This is what happened when they come. And I'm going to show you now what is a real ball of fruit, okay? Okay, that's a real ball of fruit. You see, it's hard at the beginning to see the difference. But you see, the more we're going to talk this afternoon, the more your eyes are going to open to it. You see, this is a ball of fruit that a child did spontaneously. There was a need. And you see, it's a huge thing, a huge thing. There is like life has come through it. So we want to open up. We want to awaken to the difference between what is natural and alive and what is a stereotype. Because we have been trained in stereotype. One more ball of fruit with a very much younger child, and the fruits are flying in the air. Do you see how beautiful it is? This is the way the child feels it. The fruit are not, in the experience, that's the way they are painted. So if we came and told the child, no, put the fruit here, we are ripping away the experience of the child, the contact, the authenticity of the creative gesture. You see that? And now that, this is just like the ball of fruit, This is a rabbit. You paint that around Easter. And every child has been trained sometimes for years to paint that. So some people, all of us, before we enter really creativity for ourselves, we feel that it's a great painting. Oh, that child has talent. He knows how to handle color and shape. But for me, it's a very sad thing. Because it's, again, a pattern that is being repeated. The child is neglecting their own life, their own need and urge to do what's expected, in the way it is expected. You following me? Yes, great. Ooh! All right. Okay, so now, here is a real rabbit. But it's real. It's a real rabbit. Do you see? You see the difference. And I put here another example. Climbing up the street, there's two black squirrels. Isn't it touching to see that? You see, it does not have the refinement, but it's so present. And that's even a younger shot. You see on the left, this little, I don't know, it could be a dog. Do you see? This is a child that has an experience and just spontaneously does what's coming from inside, without being bothered by the adults. Without being pressured into doing something else. You see this dog. Don't you think it's a great dog? Don't you think it's alive? I watched that little boy paint that dog in probably 3 minutes. He took a big brush with brown. He went, and I thought he was scribbling because he was going so fast with plenty of paint. And then he came, and then he put these two little dots there. And then the dog came out of the paper. I swear, I saw that dog just coming alive. I was just watching. And I was saying, isn't it a miracle that just through the feeling, like the boy, he didn't even think about it, and the dog just came out alive. This is what every artist is dreaming of, right? To be able to really do it and have it come out like that, so real, so present. And the little boy can do that when he is used to move with himself and create from himself. So this is, so even if you don't like the little squirrel and you think, oh, it's too bold, this is what is going to develop along the line when the child gets used to do that, to come from inside and not from the head. And this is when another child, a little older, you see this horse, that's part of the carriage here. It doesn't have the complexity that the first rabbit we saw had, but it's alive. You see it moving. And you know that quality of liveliness is what anybody that creates wants to reach, right? Adults, children, teenagers, it does not really matter, right? Because then the soul moves, the heart moves. So, here we have another example. Are your eyes opening now? Do you see that these dolls are a copy of something? And it's interesting because in my class I don't let the children have models, but you know, they come, it is so ingrained in them. And they have worked so hard on them. And maybe she did it 2-3 times before she came to the class. So she comes and she just repeats and works so hard. And if we don't understand, we're going to say it's a very nice painting, but you see, it's not alive. There is no presence in it. Do you see? The child is not involved. It's just a part of the mind that is there, doing it. So now we're going to discover what's the human body, because she was really trying, and they are taught, the children, you know, the head is a 7 of the rest of the body, and the arm goes there, you know, they are told. But if they were not told, what will happen? And that's what I like you to see now. So if you are not taught how to paint a body when you are like 4, I'm going to show you what happened. So if nobody tells you and you are free and they don't come and correct you, the first body you're going to create as a young child is a circle. Then you're going to have hands coming out right of the circle and feet. Everybody has seen that because when they're really young, the children, sometimes they are left alone when they are 3 or 4, you know, later on. So very often parents have a chance to see that, and they're going, you know, often to do, you know, whatever. It's very interesting. The arms are coming out of the head, and the feet too, no body. I mean, the head is a body. Every child does that. So this is really interesting. So let's question and say, why should they do that? Why? They do that because this is the way they sense themselves. You see, when they're very young, their sense of bodily existence, of bodily presence is a big thing with things moving out of it. That's what it is. So this is the way they're going to do it. And this is why we need to let them do that. Okay? A few months later, if you leave them alone, a few months later, we're going to still have that big head here. And we're going to have a little body like that comes. And then we'll have legs here. But the arms are still going to come out of here. Okay? This is what happened to every child in the natural evolution of the expression of images. And I have another slide that will show you exactly that. Do you see that? So the body is growing, but the ends are still coming out of here, okay? You go one step further, you wait a few months, and you will have the child painting that, the body growing a little bit longer, because they discover their sense, and this time the arm will come out of here. The slide you see are the evolution of one girl. This time the arm are coming out of the body. And if you could put all of her painting, you will see that this gets, first it's like that, a little longer, a little longer. Why? Because they develop a sense of their bodily existence feels different. This is the purpose of creativity. It is to express and manifest the being with his sensation, his emotion, his feeling. And this is part of it. And when you let a child do that, this is wonderful. It helps them integrate and grow. Okay, so now you're seeing like she's really getting to love it and to, you know, and some are even filled with paint, red paint and dark blue paint, and they all have a smile. And then you could see as the time goes, there is more and more paint around it. It's like the sense of substance is increasing. So I think this is so beautiful that nature is taking care of what's happening, of the creativity. What do they need us to come and tell her the proportion? They don't need us. They need to do what they are from where they are. And then you can see, after the head shrinks, you know that baby have very big head, right? And as they go, you see the head gets smaller, and you know, as we have seen, and the body really grows more and more into its proportion. And do you see now that little girl? Do you see the presence in it? If we go back and show the little doll from the beginning, you know, that was painted, you will see the enormous difference, like the bold presence of the child having really participated to the creation. And as the child grows up, you see the proportion that the adult love so much are coming out. You know, they come naturally. Why? Because it's natural. This one was a very interesting story, because I had this little boy painting in my class, and when his father came out the door, I recognized his father from the painting. And it was like, I was like, yeah, yes, you know, he didn't tell me it was, I saw him at the door and I knew who it was. This is a miracle of spontaneous expression. I find that fascinating, you know. I hope you do, because when you find it fascinating, it's going to give you the passion and the energy to really follow up with the children. So this is the way the child sails the boat. The boat is on top of the water. And you will see a lot of children do that in their experience. So we don't want to teach them, no, you have to enter the boat in the water. This is their world. Now, I want to show you the importance to give freedom of proportion to the children. As children enter the creative process, like we were saying, their sensation, how they face, you know, the world, how they sense themselves in the world is so different than what we have as an adult. So a child is going to paint a tree the same size as a flower and the same size than they are. But in their experience, you see, it is like that. So this is why they do it. And this is why it is so important. And here another example, and you have like, the house is slightly smaller than the child. And you can see the joy, you know, oh yeah, here I am. We have to uncover inside of us all these patterns that we go underneath and learn to sense. When we work with children, we have to learn how to sense through their eyes, through what is pure and natural. Do you see that round face with two legs? There is no arms on that one. But this is beautiful, and you see it's as tall as a house again. When I see a painting like that, I rejoice because it's pure, unpolluted, with all these so-called techniques that they put, sometimes on children's art. This is another freedom we want to give children, which is a freedom to paint inside things. Because if they are told, if there is a wall, you cannot see through the wall. Right? This is the adult world of concept. You paint a wall, you don't see through. And children naturally paint what I call the transparency very often. They see inside. Sometimes they paint the organs inside, or the baby, if the mommy is pregnant, or they paint inside the house, inside the car. It's like to fulfill their experience. And now we're entering a field where a lot of adults will tell me, oh, well, that's really great what you're talking about. It's great, but what about perspective? Isn't it important to teach that, right? Maybe you have that question, and it's a relevant question. So now we're going to explore into that. Do you know what that is? It's a table. Great. Yes, it's a table. And a chair. You see, this is a free child that painted that. So, are we going to ask again, why do they put the legs there? We should tell them they should go down? Or we're going to find out, just like we to find out about the human body, or we're going to find out how the natural evolution of painting object is for the children. Like there is an evolution for painting bodies, there is an evolution for painting object and for painting perspective. So the child is going to start the table very often like that. Why? Their bodily sensory perception is perceiving the table and these things that are, on the side. As the child grows up and keep painting, these feet come down slowly. First they are like that, and if you wait a little bit, they come more straight. And these come down. At the beginning, they are about like that. I mean, you see that in every child. And then you will have your table. This will be completely straight. This will still be like that. And then finally, one day, you get them like that. And the next step, you will have perfect perspective, whatever it is. So you see, in the experience, the children discover, by entering their experience of life and of existence, they discover the perspective from the inside. You see, if you teach a child how to do the perspective, it will be from the outside. They will have to think about it, learn it, reproduce it. If you let a child free, it will be a little longer, of course, but it will be in their blood. And when they will do anything, it will just come in perspective by itself. They won't even have to think about it anymore. Do you see the table inside the house? With the legs that are, trying to reach? So let's look at another table. Remember about the table you have seen? You see this one is almost there. And then if we wait a few more years, we have like the perfect table even with the tablecloth. So it just does happen. I'm showing you that theory because people say, okay, with the technique, maybe it will work naturally. But what about all this white that's left in the painting? Don't children need to feel the white? You know, the adults, when they come to my class also, they say, I need to feel the white. Do I need to feel the white? It's like, it is so ingrained for such a long time. You know, the background, you need to do, you know, so that we don't even remember that we have the freedom to do it or not, right? So children too, they hear that, they hear background. Sometimes even some children go to some classes where they start with the background, and adults too. What happens when you paint a background? In your being. I mean, I have tried to see how it feels. You know, you paint your page. Okay, I don't have to worry about the white, but my white is gone. I call that killing the white. Killing the creative void. The potential. The white as a power to pull out of you the images, the color it calls. The white is a call to creativity, to move in. When it's colored with a color, it's like, it's finished, it's dead. So you can put things on it and not worry, but what's the point? So I will tell people, let themselves be worked out by the white. It disturbs you, great. It's going to bring things up. It makes you feel strange, good. You don't know how to feel it, great. And none will come out of that. So when children start painting, of course, we don't want them to paint a background. We never ask them, and they will never do it naturally. A child that starts with a background is a child that has been taught. No child will do it naturally. And now we're going to see what happened to a background when you don't interfere. We saw what happened to the table, we saw what happened to the body, and now we're going to see what happened to the white. I'd like you to pay attention. Here we have a ground, the gray ground here, okay? There's no sky, okay? This time we have the hills, but there is a sky. So it's like the instinctive response. First didn't have a sky, which is part of the background, right? And then the sky appeared. And look now, we have more of a ground and more of a sky. And this thing, this time you see again more ground. I mean, don't pay attention. I mean, little boys do this kind of thing. I am going to talk about it. We don't worry about that. It's part of, you know, the intensity of life. I mean, we don't make problems out of that. You see, you had a lot of feeling to express, right? And let's go to the next one. Okay, you see the white is slowly filling in, naturally. And look at the next one, it's completely covered. There is not a piece of white left. In the same way that children go through the evolution of the body image, they go through the evolution of responding to the void. And the time where a child finally paints the whole thing, it's like something happens inside. I call that an initiation to the creative response. It's like the child has opened up, has developed a full response. And later on, when they leave some white, we know there is a problem that is holding them back, and then we help them move through that. So it becomes a pointer for us. But first, they have to do it themselves, and naturally. Isn't it interesting? It's like in our being, for the expression of, you know, who we are, what we need, you know, we need to face that white, that void. So what do you think then about not teaching technique to children? Tell me about it. Do you still feel they need it? When you see that as a fact, when you see that every child goes through that, it really is teaching us a lot, right? It's teaching us about our own creativity and how things work. I learned everything from the children. I mean, when I got started in my own painting process, the children taught me. I was in the studio where I watched them. Just sensing how they paint freely taught me to find my own freedom and to dare for what was inside and wanted to come out naturally. Huh? As parents and adults, they want to be kind and support the children, so they constantly are going to say, it's great, you did a good, it's a beautiful painting, it's fantastic, it's beautiful, it's great, I love your color, I love you. And that is not good. And you see why that is not good? It is not good because it makes a child think in terms of success and failure. It emphasizes product, not process. You see, the parents have good intention, but the child takes it as a compliment that is not at the right place, or they take it as a criticism, like good and bad. Okay, if my painting is good now, and next painting you don't tell me it's good again, it means I will have failed. If you tell me my painting is good, it means I could have failed. It brings a child to a different state of, of perception, to a different state of being, where they start worrying. I want to get mom and dad and the teacher a compliment, if not, and then they start identifying with it, I paint a good painting, I'm a good girl. And this is so wrong, because we love the children because they are who they are, not because they're going to use a little piece of paper and put nice color on it. Yeah, you follow me? And that's what they're going to hear. And they're going to lose touch with themselves, thinking they are represented by this little piece of paper. So not only from the creative point of view, but from the human point of view, of the self-image, of a sense of who you are, it's really not good to start telling a child every time, this is good, this is bad, this is better, or this one is really a success. I'm going to take it and put it in the living room. Or they sampled that painting out of the other and decided it was a good one. Why? Maybe it's the green I put on the tree, so I'm going to try to repeat that next time. Or maybe they loved it because my dog looked good, so let's do this dog a lot. You see, it takes away the spontaneity of children, the heart contact, the authenticity. Here is a good example. These paintings were painted by a 10-year-old girl whose parents and teacher thought she had a lot of artistic talent. She had received a lot of compliments, so she had identified her personality with a talented girl. So we're going to see what happened when she came. And it was like the bowl of fruit, painting the vases. Vases are beautiful. You see them in museum, And she will work the whole time, and she will try, and you see like the trees. You could say, oh, it's beautiful for a 10-year-old. You wouldn't believe how hard she worked to make this green different from each other. You could see like she was at work. She was not creative. And then she came back again and started again with these trees. But that day, she got tired of doing her nice little greens. And then put this little girl on a scooter, And you can see that was quite natural, like just a poof. And then she was started. And you couldn't stop that girl after that. Look at that. And she was like so happy. And then she started painting things from her life, like a cat, and picking apples. And you can see how pure and natural and it was. There is a little nest in the trees also with birds. And you could see her enjoying, like, oh, And she experimented with bigger painting. And then started painting scenes. She told me this was her house on a Sunday morning at home. Daddy reading the newspaper. And she was painting every little object. Can you imagine that child painting that? The joy and the expressiveness in it. And she painted a supermarket and a classroom. And then one day, she arrived and painted a rose. Wouldn't you be suspicious after weeks of just this flow and struggling with the rose? Struggling, my friend, struggling. And then the last 3 minutes, she just went around like that, like she was like in an upset way. She tried again. She came back and tried to paint Japanese bamboo, and the same thing happened. And she got really nervous. And then I was like, what is going on? And I meet the mother, and I talked to the mother, and the mother told me that during the Easter break, she entered her in a contest, and she had won. Did you see about compliment? She won the contest, the children contest. So now she was the one that knew how to paint. So she comes back and tries to inhabit that girl that win a contest, so she can win more contests. So she starts with a rose, because roses are beautiful. Japanese bamboo, I mean, when you win contests, that's the kind of thing you should be doing. So it took a few weeks, for her to come back. Thank God she remembered her experience. And then she, look at that compare, And you could see, the picnic, I mean, I could have I had so many of them, and they were all so felt and so present and beautiful. So you see, so I'm showing you that so you can see what you do, what we do to children when we tell them they're special, or their painting is special. So it gratifies their ego, but they lose what's most important, which is the creative flow, the trust in themselves. The trust in themselves. Sometimes when there is a challenge in life, when there is something difficult, creativity can help the integration and the healing of the problems. For children, it's very powerful. It's the same with adults. But here I have a little document that you can see. I had a young boy join the class in the middle of the term. He had just arrived from a foreign country. He seemed to be feeling quite lost, and he kept for a long time just painting things that he had learned. You can see the car. You see the sun and the cloud like that. Do you see it's a stereotype? They have learned that. Often when children paint what they have learned, they start with black outline. So he was doing that, and he was really kind of bored and always sitting on a stool, and couldn't get him moving. And then one day he painted himself drowning into a huge sea. Instantly I felt a drastic change in him. I could sense his feeling moving through his brush, expressing themselves and releasing great sadness. This was a breakthrough from him. Finally, something moved inside of him. Sometimes osmosis. They feel the freedom of the other children, and they absorb it. Like you don't need to talk to them very much. After that, it was like he started finally painting and being happy in the class and everything. But he had to come. It took a few weeks for him to come to the place where he could feel his feeling. Let them move through him. Here is another series of paintings that portrays the healing journey. So I had this little boy, and he had painted with me for a while already. And then one day, he painted this huge monster, and he was like I could see he was going through a lot. There was a lot of intensity and feeling. And then he painted himself. You can see the child, he was like maybe 5.5. He came back to the original sense of the little child, that does not even sense the body yet. And then he painted these huge things of black on top of the head. You look at it and you feel like the heaviness, like there's something really going on there. And then again he did himself. And this was very interesting because he painted a drop of blood coming out of his hand. And immediately he turned his head to look at me like he had done something forbidden or something, And I behaved like nothing was happening. Then he painted another one. And then another one. And then a little boy came running to me and told me, did you see, he has painted some blood. Like, you know, taboo. You know, as adults, we are so judgmental, but you see the children, you know, like, you know, how could he do that? And I say, so what? And like everybody heard me, you know, and the kids were like, she's not screaming, she's not telling to stop, you know. I say, so what? So the very interesting thing that happened that's really funny is that the little boy that came to complain about it, the moment I say, so what, he went and added some blood in his painting. And then the other, like I had, like, I don't know, 8 people, 10 kids, the whole class started putting blood everywhere. So it was a taboo breaking. You see, when we paint, we have to break the taboo. We have taboo without knowing it. So the children, thanks to him, had broken a taboo. You know, like you're not supposed to paint violence, you're supposed to paint blood. And the little boy kept adding some more, you know, put it here and put it here. And then the next painting, he started again. You cannot see it anymore. With himself red, and just filled the whole paper with blood. And at the end of it, he came to see me, which he had never done before. And he told me, you know, my parents are divorced. My mom and dad are divorcing. I didn't ask him, tell me about your painting. He came and told me. And then, so we talked for a little bit. And it was a very intense, very emotional, moment. And it's like I felt like a weight was lifting him, like he could share that with me. He could express it, and the healing was starting. Like the painting was taking care, you know, of this great challenge that this little boy had. This was like a beautiful completion of the first wave of feeling and of expression. If you have gotten a sense now of the beauty of creativity, not only the beauty but the necessity, how important it is for a child to create when they are young. When children paint spontaneously, they sometimes paint very intense images. These images help them integrate and heal their feelings naturally. It is important not to worry and to let the natural healing of self-expression do its work. Every moment of discomfort in creativity is announcing a new opening. And all that is so natural, you know, and it comes at its own time, and I never interfere. And it's so beautiful to see that happen. And we don't want to reinforce that taboo, because it's a natural expression. Self-expression, the healing of self-expression. And that's what we give children when we don't put taboo, don't paint blood. When we don't put the taboo, you can only paint the bodies that has the right proportion. You see, this is the other aspect of it. The healing aspect is so important. I have seen children change and transform through just doing like once a week painting. Because all at once their sense of self comes through and has right, has room to be, room to feel. Instead of using the painting to please the adult or to do something great, they do it for themselves. So this is this little girl. She was 8. She came, and now your eyes are opening, right? You start seeing what I'm talking about. And she started with a butterfly. Why? It's like a rose, it's like a ball, it's like a plant. In the kindergarten, they paint a lot of butterflies because they thought it's beautiful. Okay? So she'll do that, and come the next week and do again her butterfly, and do again her butterfly. But this time she put a little piece of gray outside. That's the only thing that was real. Like, you know, at the end she felt a little bit of her started moving that day. Okay? And then she came back the following week and painted that cube. That's something she had learned at school. Perspective. And she was like struggling, like almost sweating, you know, making it right. And of course I wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't support that. I will let her do it and respect it. And then something happened. Again, on osmosis, the class energy, you know, the creativity in the room, she absorbed it. All at once she put the hands. And you can see the hands are not in perspective. They are like, she just did them. And that started her. That started the dam breaking. She painted the tables, the furniture, the window, and finally, some animals. Her painting was no longer about perspective or about abstract shape. It was about her life. And then she painted her room. Anything more intimate than a room? I mean, she painted her room, and with love. And she was like so present. I mean, it was so touching to see her. So her bed, the frames, the flower. And then the playground. Again, she's painting about her life. You see the difference? The butterfly was not about her life. It was about her memories and about being a good girl. And now she's painting her life. And the fun. And she, you know, and she's small, obviously, so she can't reach the fun. She doesn't have to think about it. It just comes through. It's all pure. It's just coming spontaneously. And again, the street, the park, you know, and the bike, you know, her life. And the beautiful manifestation of who she is. Can you see how her creative passion wakes up and fills her with joy? And this is the last one I'll show you from her, because I was so touched when this painting happened. She told me it was a Golden Gate Bridge, okay? And she painted, and we encourage children in the creative process to really complete their painting. So at the end, I was asking, you know, when she told me she was finished, I said, are you sure? Is there anything you can think of, you know? And then she went and put this yellow. You see the yellow on the clouds, on the bridge, and a little bit of yellow on the boat. And she came back and she said, these are pieces of sunlight. And she was like, you know, like when we are in ecstasy, she was in ecstasy. And I was with her. I was like, oh, yes, yes. And it was beautiful. And she just went on, and then she loved the class. This little boy, he was like 6-year-old when he came. So his parents registered him to my class, but he was not interested. He wanted to play ball. You know, as a little boy, he wanted to run around. And it was like so much suffering for him. He was there, he was looking at the window all the time. And he had no idea what to do. He asked me to give him a model. I said, I'm not giving model. We don't do that here, we invent. And he was like, we invent? I said, we invent here. We don't use anything. And he was just like lost. So he spent a long time in the class sitting in the chair, you know, and I wouldn't push him, you know, to do anything. And then he got an idea. At a certain point, he thought of copying a little boy that was in the class. A little boy and maybe a year older than him. So he will put his piece of paper and spend the whole hour copying the little boy. It was really sad. I mean, he had like nothing to do. And so one day, he had copied already a few times. While he was copying that little thing from the little boy, you know, that design, the little boy had finished the painting, so I took the painting and hid it away. He couldn't remember. So he was really upset. So he started scratching everything and put some little gray blob on it. I was happy to see that, because it was the first spontaneous, real gesture that he had. And he had been there for a few weeks. And this was the beginning of a miracle. The moment he realized he could do something from himself, immediately he started painting the tent. He was transformed. And he came and told me, Michele, this is my family. We went camping last summer. It was just like a dam that you open. And from that day on, he was the first one to arrive. Before that, he was always late in class. He was always he came even early to help me set the paint. And he just loved it, and he started painting, and you could see the joy and the passion. And then one day, he painted that grave. He was very involved, very absorbed. He painted that grave. He painted more graves. I didn't put all the paintings, there were so many. And then, he painted a cemetery. And look at this cross, how alive they are, you know. And then after his whole series of graves, he painted himself in the ground. And he was a very happy boy. And then he put the tree. And he called me and he said, Michele, these are apples I'm painting. And I love applesauce, and my mom always does applesauce. You know, like he shared with me. That's all he shared about this whole series on the death here. And I wanted to show that as an example of how children use the painting. I talked to the parents. They told me nobody was sick in the family, nobody was dying, nobody at all. I mean, it had no influence of that sort. It was a child that was exploring his known mortality. You know, we wonder about our mortality as adults, but children do too. You know, they might see an insect dying or, you know, a little dog or something. And it really works inside of them. And they wonder about their own. So what I felt is that the child explored his mortality through doing that. And at the end, he was finished. And the apple tree came. And the memory of the applesauce. And then after that, his painting started again, you know, very joyful, you know, the boats. And then the swimming pool, and you know, everything, like he had worked hard. Something about the mystery of our life condition, our life existence. And I say, oh my God, you know, creativity does not only give self-expression, it gives self-exploration. You see, and I saw it is so complete as a tool. So when you see that children can use it, you know, in such a wide way, you know, how precious it is. As a recap of everything, what is it that's bringing creativity to really move? All right? What brings it? It's like who the children are beyond the conditioning. You see, when you undo the conditioning, the real person comes out. So our work as adult and educator and teacher is to undo the conditioning. We find that place that I call point zero. This is why I call it the point zero method. Point zero is a place where there, underneath the conditioning, authentic, real, present. So as we see children moving into the conditioning, we help them undo it, and undo it, and undo it, until they really stand in the point zero place, where they are the center of everything, where everything moves, the creative energy, which is part of their being and part of a universal energy moving through. The point zero place. Yes. sometimes the child comes and asks you, is it beautiful what I've done? They are patterned, they are trained. And the other question is, what do you do if you cannot say, yes, it's beautiful, and I love your tree? Or, So when the child comes, and I remember once, it happens to me where it was a very acute situation with a little girl, because she'll do something and she'll come to me, she'll pull her painting off the wall, take the time, and say, Michele, do you like my painting? And she'll come, And I say, I don't talk like that. I don't like it or dislike it. I'm just really so happy you did. I'm so happy you were involved in it and you were free in it. And I will send her back to paint. 10 minutes later, she come back. Michele, do you like my painting? And she kept at it every 15 minutes. And she kept at it for 3 full weeks. And every time I say, I'm so glad you painted, I don't think like that. And the first time she was looking at me just like, she was with her mouth open, I remember. No, I don't say it's good or bad, what's wrong with me? And then slowly she got used to it. And it was such a beautiful transformation. Because after a few weeks, she stopped asking. And the moment she stopped asking, she relaxed. And I could see her painting started blooming. Because she didn't have to worry anymore. But she was like so used to, she couldn't let it go for quite a long time. And when you ask me, what do I tell children, anything that you can think of that supports process. Are you sure you are finished? Or I'm glad you were involved. Help me, I don't know if they ask me about how to hold the brush. I do a lot of work with brushes. How to put the paint. They always put too much water or not enough. So you give a real contact, a real care there, and they feel your presence. And you know what is the most powerful thing, I think, when I teach, and probably for every person that teach children, is eye contact. Every time I see a child painting purely, like what I show you, I saw the body is left, as it is, or the tree or the squirrel. I just give them a look like saying, I know what you are going through. I know you are right there. I know you are doing your best. You are manifesting. And they know I know, because I know. And they feel it. And that satisfies them. So this is why it is so important to understand children's heart, because every time they do that, and they see your presence, and when they come one day and they paint the old things they have learned, the way you look at them normally with affection, but you don't give that look because you know, and that gives them the support. You see, they are acknowledged when they are with themselves. When they stray off, they realize that they are straying off because they see it through you. So I think the most powerful contact I will get with my children painting is eye contact. Children absorb your belief about creativity whether you talk about it or not. They sense the way you look at the painting. They sense the way you're trying not to talk. They will sense it. And they absorb it, and they will try to please. Because children, they want to be loved. They want to be good. So children are so loving in a way. They want to make you happy. If you believe that doing something in the perfect proportion is good, they're going to suffer to try to do that. If you believe that they should use the right colors, they're going to do it for a long time. Until hopefully when they grow up as an adult, one day they say, hey, I need my freedom. There is 3 things I recommend you don't do when children paint. One is never ask them, why did you paint something? Why did you paint the house burning? You don't want to do that, because if you do that, you bring them in their head. You bring them in the verbal. Listen, creativity is moving into the non-verbal state. If you bring a question that they have to put words on it, they're going to try to put words on what they do. But it won't be the truth. They're going to make a story to satisfy you. Or I burned the house because my brother took my book or whatever. And then you know what you have done? Cut them from their process. They were moving along freely, you cut them. You bring them in the head. So why you don't do? Another question that is really painful for children and could be painful for adults is, what did you paint? What does it mean? It means you cannot see what they painted. That's a catastrophe. They just painted a car and you don't know what it is. You know, and you ask, what is that? So it means they have failed. So asking what you painted is really, really hurt the creativity of children. As an adult, if you painted and somebody come and ask you what you painted, how will you like that? You wouldn't take it as a compliment, wouldn't you? Okay, so we want to protect the children, and especially when they are little. Very often we cannot quite see, you know, like unless the child tells you it's a squirrel, it could be a rabbit, it could be a dog, I mean, you don't know. Or sometimes you have a little blood and it could be a monster, it could be a house, we don't know. And the third question not to ask, tell me about your painting. And this is also a very well-intentioned gesture from a parent or a teacher. Tell me about it. I want to share, I want to help, I want to be with you. But as we have been talking, we can see the same thing happen. Tell me about your painting. I cannot quite see what it is. I want more information. I want to intrude in it. You know, it's just like pulling the child out. When the child is ready, the child will tell you. I guarantee that. It always happens. If you are standing on their side, fully on their side, they will tell you. One of the miracles that happens when you teach children is that when they really finally get in touch with themselves, they're going to volunteer. They're going to come and tell you about it. It takes a long time. They have to really trust you. They have to trust that you understand and that you support them. But then they will come and tell you. What are their needs, not mine? Oh, I'm very curious. I really like to know what's going on. You know, this is private. Until the child divulges it, it's private. And that's not going to help the child to ask. Something else that comes a lot. The child comes and says, show me, draw it for me. And then, why? Okay, let's think about it. Why? Why should the child ask, show me how to draw something? Very simply, because they think they cannot do it. They think there is an image, they cannot do it on their own. They think they cannot invent. So, of course you want to refuse to do it. If a child comes and tells me, can you show me how to do that? I say, I'm sure you can do it. And they say, oh, no, I can't. I say, I know you can. You know, when you play, no, I can't. I tried. I say, I'm sure you can. And if they insist, I say, okay, let's do it together. And I have them, show me. I say, show me. And as soon as they start, I say, you see, you know how to do it, you know? And they do another inch. They say, you see? You see? And they be like, oh, you know, I can do it. And no matter what it is, you tell them, oh, you see? You can do it. And after you do that 3-4 times, that's it. You want to give the children the message that they can draw and paint anything they want. Why? Because they can. We saw the little dog, it pops out of the paper, right? We saw the body growing out of the paper. They can paint buildings, cars, trucks, anything. Cities, I mean, they just don't know it. Why don't they know it? Because we took away that from them. So we want to give back what they own. Are we going to help a child develop the freedom to do what comes to them naturally? How important it is not to criticize what they do. How important it is not to fix what they do. Do you see that a very well-intentioned adult will do to a child? They say, oh, your hair should be straight. I'm going to help you fix it. We're going to erase that part. You see? Or you should feel the white. So it's a very good intention. So you know what you need to do? To never interfere in the painting itself. The only place you want to dialogue with your child is in process, but not about content. Not you do this or you do that. What you try to do is to stimulate the liveliness of the child, the freedom. They tell you the color is not the right color. You see, oh, you can be any color. A flower could be any color. A person could be any color. Or they tell you, oh, the head is too big. Oh, you know, it depends. There are all kinds of human beings on the earth. Some have big head, some have small head. My boat is not in the water, you know. Yeah, all kinds of boats, you know. They have, some are propelled and some going. So you reassure the children that whatever they paint is okay.